what would you say is the best way to learn photography? What's the best way to get into the industry? It's a really common question, isn't it?
It is a common question. It's a difficult one. And I think we've actually done it through different ways, haven't we? I went more the academic way, and I think you went more apprenticeship, kind of learning on the job.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's a few things I want to discuss about this, because, it has worked out that, one of the lowest paid salaries within 5 years of having a photographer's degree. It's the lowest salary of all the degrees, apparently.
Yeah. So this was a recent news story here in the UK, where it was, that they basically were saying about degrees that aren't worth the paper they're written on, and the subject that offers you the lowest wage, or people that are on the lowest wage 5 years after studying it, turned out to be photography.
Yeah, and it's also been described as a Mickey Mouse degree. I don't like that term. But I understand where it comes from. The reason I don't like that term is actually, I did a degree in photography and I worked bloody hard for it. Do you know what I mean? If you say Mickey Mouse, it kind of means it was easy and you breezed through it. No, I worked hard. I did work hard to get that degree, and I was very proud of it at the end of it. So I don't like the phrase Mickey Mouse. However, if career-wise, and I'm not talking about all the social stuff, because actually university, learning social skills, and you're kind of away from home with a safety net, that kind of thing. It's a good sort of jump into life for a lot of people, and I met some of the best people, and I still contact them today because of uni. So that bit aside, career-wise though, I agree. I think it's probably best doing it the way you did it, Cam, because although I enjoyed my degree and I worked hard my degree and I'm proud of the degree, did it get me my job? Would I have, because my first proper photographer's job was with Venture. I think I would have gotten that job without a degree, quite frankly. I don't think I needed a degree to get that job. Yes, my portfolio was better, but my portfolio, I was doing architectural photography in my end of degree course, which is nothing to do with family photography, which is what I now do. So in that respect, I would have gotten the job anyway, I think. With the 5 year thing, about your salary and whatever, I'm guessing there's a lot of things that have changed since I did it, just to sort of clarify. My year was one of the first years that actually had to pay for university fees. I'm pretty sure I was like the first year, definitely the first year to get the loans rather than the grants. And it was $3,000 a year. Now I think it's about $9,000 a year, isn't it? So for university fees. So obviously it's more cost effective when I was doing it than it is now. And within 5 years, I was earning 20K at Venture. I was the head photographer at the studio after I got the job.
Now, let's not dismiss degrees altogether, because I think you were sort of saying that, you said that when you got your job at Venture, that you probably wouldn't have needed a degree. I don't necessarily. Let's not talk about Venture necessarily here, but I don't necessarily think that would be the case, Mark, because there's a lot of employers who want to take somebody on, but they would prefer to have somebody who studied at degree level, regardless of which subject it is, because achieving a degree means that you've stuck at it, you achieved a certain amount of knowledge, and that you're able, and that you are an achiever, whatever you've achieved. Okay, it doesn't matter. You could have done a degree in physics or something, right? Or you could have done a degree in, I don't know, horticulture or something. Okay, has nothing to do with photography. But the thing is what they're saying is, okay, this person's proved himself or herself.
They work.
And I think one of the good things about university is, I think it's good for things like, you're having to do a lot of presentations to groups, you're having to put yourself into situations of, say, moving away from home. There's a lot of that goes on that brings you out as a different person, so that the experience of university changes a person. I remember I didn't go.
And I completely agree. That's why I said, the people I met, I did put all that to one side when I was saying, I was talking career-wise only. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't go back and not go to uni. I'd do it all again.
Yeah,
because it was one of the best periods of my life. It was great.
That's right. Yeah. So,
But I worked hard.
Yeah. So how many people do we sort of do a degree, regardless of what degree they've actually done, and have ended up doing the job that they actually did their degree in? I'm sure there's a huge percentage that haven't. My brother is a good example. He did his degree in chemistry many, many years ago. He's carved out a very successful career for himself. Nothing to do with chemistry. but it was his level of education that got him into the job that he first went that he got, and it had nothing to do with chemistry at all. And I think that, you know, and because of that, because of the achievement that he had, he was very academic, my brother, and that's it's got him to where he is now. You know, so now when we're talking about the specifics of a photography degree, is it worth studying a photography degree? You know, in one word, no. I don't think it is. But I'm not saying you're going to waste your time or don't do a degree. I'm not saying that. If you think I want to go to uni because I want to study photography, you're still going to benefit and gain a lot from that. Just from that whole university. Okay, so let's
whole university experience, absolutely. And like I just said, although I think if you want to, if you're just completely looking at having a photography career in photography, the best way to do it, I'd still say, is the way you did it, learning on the job, apprenticeships, that kind of thing. However, I wouldn't change my time at uni, because you're right. I think I came out a more rounded person, living with people who I didn't know. You know, you'll get chucked into these halls and it's very much about politics, and you learn in some respects man management and things like that, you know. And you know, we're all young, so we all make mistakes, and that's a good learning process. I mean, I'm just saying this about degrees, by the way. I mean, I actually started my degree later. I mean, because I did a foundation course after my A-levels, and I took a year out to earn some money to then go to uni. So I was 2 years behind in that respect. And I think a lot of people do that with the arts. I think photography courses are now offered GCSE level, which they weren't really when I was at school. Obviously, my first course was an A-level, and then did the foundation course. All that stuff definitely do. But then I think from there, maybe apprenticeship, and you know, go into a photographer and saying, look, I want to learn what you do, because there's more to it than just taking photos, isn't there? I learned a lot when I was my time at Venture. I mean, primarily as a professional photographer, but also how the business works. You know, how are we getting clients in? How, you know, all the different skills of it, you know, being on an exhibition stand in a shopping center, doing the tele sales, all that kind of stuff I also learned before I then went and did my own business.
Yeah. I mean,
not on the job. I didn't learn that from my university degree.
Yeah. And times always change. So things have changed since you did your degree and you left. Times have changed when, you know, when I started in the industry, there was a period where there were a lot of jobs available in the photography industry. Yeah. And I remember, and there might be some people that listen to this that were aware of two photography agencies based in London. One was called Just Photographic Agency. And it was run by a lady called Justine, I think. Mm-hmm. And there was another one, and they were both based on Oxford Street in London, these two job photo agency. So I used to be in touch with them. They said, look, there's a job going here. Are you interested? There's a job going here. Are you interested? And I was flitting from one job to another. Intentionally, I was going from one job to another. It was really good grounding, because I wasn't really fully aware of really what was involved in the photography industry. I wanted to be a photojournalist at school. That's what I wanted to do, photojournalism, then developed into getting into photography. Parents always tried to put me off from going into photography. They didn't stop me at all, you know, but they were sort of saying, you know, as any conversation a lot of people have with their parents. But, you know, I was fortunate. There was a time where there were a lot of jobs. I remember there were a lot of cruise ship jobs going at the time as well. And I applied, and I can't actually remember whether I got a job on a cruise ship or not. I didn't. Either way, I wouldn't have taken it at the time because I had other jobs. I was just applying, just sending out things. And then, you know, I remember the British Journal of Photography, which still I think advertises jobs. There used to be pages and pages and pages of jobs. So I used to look at that, and I got jobs from on the back of going into looking at the British Journal of Photography. So I used to go into W.H. Smith's every Thursday when it used to come out, and I used to read the job section there, and then I'd buy the magazine if there was a job in there that I wanted to apply for, and so times are very different. So I was lucky because I learnt I learned on the job, and my initial grounding was always in industrial commercial advertising photography. Then I met a wedding photographer. I had no intention of getting into wedding photography, and I ended up going out with him shooting weddings for 3 years. I was just training, and then he turned around to me 3 summers later and said, "Right, you need to go and buy your own camera equipment, your own Bronica, and your film bags, your own bag, because I'm going to give you your first wedding to do." So I had a grounding of 3 years in photography before going out to shoot a wedding on my own, which is unheard of now as well. So everything, there was a grounding. But the problem, I think the issue now that we have is that you leave university. So there's a situation, you leave university, but you don't quite know where you're going to go from university.
And there is a massive amount of debt as well.
There is. That's right.
I mean, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm still paying off my student loan, and it's because when you're only eligible to pay it over a certain amount, and that's right. Yeah, and so and I think that when you do leave university, is like where is the helping hand to say, right, okay, you finish university, there's a job placement there for you. I don't know. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, that doesn't exist. I know somebody that studied at Manchester, I think it was, in recent years. He did a media degree there. And I mean, a media degree is probably also, quote unquote, a Mickey Mouse degree, which I say I hate that term. And
he's not doing anything even remotely connected to that. And I thought, being there, he would have perhaps had opportunities with the TV studios that they have in Manchester and everything. I thought, wow, that's a really good opportunity there. And I don't think it, and I don't think it was. So what happens after that? So let's just say, though, that your photography degree doesn't necessarily give you the best opportunities to get a career in photography, even though you've been to university. What is the best way to do it? And you and I both agree that it is sort of on the job training, because now more than ever before, there are so many different opportunities where you can learn photography, different specialisms in photography. You go to places like the societies, and you see the workshops that they have at their conventions, and they have lots of private workshops, all of that. The teaching that I do as well. I've extended the range of courses that I'm going to be doing as well, and those are all good grounding for people to get into the industry. But I don't. Because you can learn photography on the job, you can learn it on your own, you can learn it, a lot of it, through YouTube videos and everything. But studying photography as a full-time sort of study, I think, is a wrong thing to do. I think people should be studying something else, and I know what that something else is, and we'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think there's a lot of degrees out there, not just photography, that you don't necessarily go into that profession afterwards. I think politics is a politics degree. You don't necessarily become a politician because of having a politics degree. And I'd say law, in some respects, some aspects of the law degrees, you don't necessarily become a lawyer. You might work in the law, but you're not being a lawyer. So I think that's across the board. But I think you're right. Times have changed a lot, because being a photographer these days, I mean, you spoke about wanting to be a photojournalism, being part of being a photojournalist. Sorry, I don't think newspapers actually employ photographers on their books anymore, do they? I think they just use freelancers. And
that's right. Yeah,
I could be wrong, but my interpretation is you might have one head photographer there or something, and the rest are all part-time, maybe 0 hour or whatever it is. So times have changed generally, and you're right. There's not many jobs. When I got my job at Venture, there wasn't a lot of photographers' jobs even back then, and that was 2005. I got that job. So, there's not, because now really, and when I finished my time at Venture, there was nowhere else for me to go unless I wanted to be like head manager, area manager, or something like that. And I that's not me. I don't want to do that. So, and there was possibly you could be part of maybe the creative team who teach all the photographers, but there's like 3 of them out of a company that at one point had 80 studios in the country. So, and those people already have those jobs already filled. So it really is. The impetus now is really to become self-employed in a photography industry.
Because
that's a massive change.
Yeah, and you're right there, because you've just sort of preempted what I was going to sort of say then, in that there's a lot of people that are listening to this and saying, I want to get into photography. You're saying don't do a degree. I get that.
Mm.
So the best thing to do is to learn on the job. But how do I find a job in photography? Where are all those jobs in photography? Where are the big employers of photography? There aren't any like that. Not really. They're all small independent companies, and a lot of photographers don't employ other photographers. They're simply independents.
Yeah. And starting wages, because generally you have to be trained up to do what that studio wants you to do. You are looking at minimum wage to start with.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. But so how do you get that experience? How do you learn on the job? How do you do that? Knocking on doors and whatever, and it's interesting now, because I used to get quite a few inquiries from people saying, I want to get into photography. Do you have any jobs going? Okay. I used to get a lot of those. I've never thought about this until now, and I'm actually talking about it. Do you know what? I very rarely get that. I might get one inquiry a year now, because what's happening is everyone is immediately setting up their own business.
Yeah.
Okay. They're immediately setting up their own photography business. And we know, and this is fact, we've said it before, we did a show on it recently, where 80% of photography businesses fail in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, was it 3 years or 5 years?
I think it was 3 years.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure it was 3 years. Okay. And I think that's staggering, in a way that it's that the numbers are staggering, but it's not a surprise. And
it's not the photography side necessarily. That's the bad thing with these businesses.
Well, you see, this is just it. They might be really good photographers, but this is the crux of it. If you want to become a photographer, then what you need to do is go and study business. Yeah. Okay, you need to know,
or you can learn on the job, as I say.
Learn on the job, okay, but also alongside of that, what you need to be doing, I think, is, in my opinion, is you need to study business. You need to work out. You need to understand how business works. You need to understand, how you get clients, how to market yourself. Okay. Setting up an Instagram and a Facebook account it's not enough. It's not the answer. Okay. No. It's not the answer. Oh, I've got a website, that you design your own website through some cheap website thing. I've got a website. And then what do? You sit and wait for all of these inquiries to come in. And what happens? Nothing comes in. You don't get a single inquiry.
But the thing is, you don't necessarily have to have a business degree or anything like that. I mean, you can go that route, I guess. My issue with a lot of, and I find this a lot with business courses, that it's very generalized. Actually,
but Mark, I'm going to pick you up on that.
Yeah, fine. But let me continue, and then pick me up. No problem. Yeah. But like I said, when I was at Venture, I made it a point to learn how to do the telesales, learn how to go on exhibitions. I remember, people were needed on the exhibitions, and all the other photographers were like, put their head down. They didn't want to do it. And I was like, no, I'll do it. I mean, it was nice to get out of the studio for a bit of a change, but also I thought, no, I need to learn how to do this. And learning the different aspects of the business that I thought I was then going to go into, because it wasn't so generalized then. It was specific to what I was going to do afterwards. And the same with wedding photography. If you had an employee, let's say, who's working for Abraxas, who's like PAYE, for example. I mean, I'm not sure if you do that or not, but it doesn't matter. But let's just say, for an example, I'd learn how to be a wedding photographer and watch what you do on the wedding shoots, but I would also be paying close attention to how you get those clients in, how you make because that is specifically for a wedding business. A wedding photography business. So that's why I'm not. That's why I'm more sort of on the point of learning on the job rather than necessarily a business degree or a photography degree or something like that. Because actually, you're learning something specific to the area of which you're going to do. And if it's a successful business, then you take on those things. Maybe do things slightly differently, perhaps, but the general basics of it you're going to do. Then it works. So carry on with it.
Yeah, I think it's sort of in amongst what you in everything that you've just said. Then, we are in agreement, but you do need to learn on the job, and everything that you've said is right. Is soak up all of that knowledge that you can, get involved in different things, and if you are lucky enough to be working for somebody on PAYE or something, then you need to find out how these businesses work, how they talk to their customers, whether it's wedding clients, whether it's commercial clients, how do they market themselves? What sort of money do they spend on marketing themselves? Now, And I think if you can get yourself into that situation, that's absolute perfection. That's great. And then alongside that, in your own time, study a business course, whether it's a part-time course, whether it's something that you're doing online or something, but understand the basics of running a business, marketing yourself, understand the fact that you should have a budget every year set aside to market yourself. You know, the work is not, if you set up your own business, I've said this time and time again, and you sit there and you wait for the work to come into you, but you don't tell anyone that you're out there and you're not spending any money telling people that you're out there, the only person that knows about you and your business is you. No one's going to come to you. It's no good asking friends to recommend you. The professional world doesn't work like that.
No.
And in my opinion, the reason why these photography businesses fail is because these people don't have the basic understanding of how to run a business. They might know how to do their accounts and things like that, but you're talking about this is how I need to market myself. I need to have budgets. When I'm at a shoot, this is how I need to react with a client. When I'm talking to a client, I need to create more work with that client. I then need to, these are the things, this is how to talk to a client. This is how to deliver your job. This is how you write, this is how you write an email to a client. This is how you correspond with a client. This is how you keep a client. These are all the things. And you know what? All of that, doing that involves an investment. So every time you do a job, part of the money that you earn out of that job has to get put back into that business, into some sort of marketing or something. But people think, well, I've set up my website, it's not costing me anything. You know, I've got an Instagram account, that's free. I've got Facebook. I'm not going to do boosted ads. I'm not going to do.
I'm not a fan of boosted ads either, to be fair.
Well, no, Mark. The thing is, you say this, but again, my experience of Facebook was I don't know how to do Facebook ads. Okay. I don't. And what I mean by that is I can set up an ad and I can run it, but I don't know how to monitor it. I don't know how to do it successfully so it generates inquiries. So for our wedding side of the business, I've had somebody now for the last 3 years who puts my ads together for me. He posts those ads out. He monitors what's going on. I can see inquiries coming in from those ads all the time because they're carefully targeted and they're stopped at certain times and they're restarted at certain times. Now I'm paying for all of that. Okay, so in other words,
but it's learning how to do all of that, isn't it?
I'm investing, exactly. But as a photographer, you can't learn everything. Now, my knowledge has taught me that I can't be a jack of all trades. Okay. You know, but I know that I set aside money for my business to market myself. So I'm saying, right, here's some money to an expert who can do that for me, who in turn is going to bring work in for me. You know, so, and these things have to be learned. You have to learn. And to be honest, you know, and it's too much of a quick fix these days. Everyone says, oh, I've left university, I've set up my own website and I've got my own business. You're going to fail. You're going to be one of those businesses. The chance, there's an 80% chance, right, that you're going to fail. Yeah, that's right. Because you have to have that grounding. And and I'm going to finish off here, but like the society of today, there is no patience. They don't want to wait. They want everything now. And they don't believe, I don't think they understand the importance of, I've got to do this for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years before I start earning any money from it.
Yeah, it is true. It's a hard industry to get into. But as I say, although I enjoyed my degree, and I think I worked very hard for my degree, so I do not like this Mickey Mouse sort of thing, because that just, it says that you work for nothing, and that's not true.
Yeah.
But it is expensive.
Yeah, on a positive note, it is expensive. But on a positive note, you can be a success if you want to become a photographer and you want to set up your own business and you want to do all of those things and you see a career yourself as a career as a photographer, as a videographer. You can do it. There's loads of opportunities out there. But you've just got to work at it. You've got to be patient and you've got to soak up as much knowledge as you can and don't rush into doing it. If it means that you've got to get another job doing something alongside all of that while you're learning, then do that. Do that. But there's no quick fix. But you can be a success if you go about things the right way and give it time as well.